$125,000. After Coast One stepped in, Mark walked away paying less than $1,500. Call Coast One now. A 10-minute call can save you up to 93% on your back taxes. Get your fresh start today. That's 800-242-3186.
Sponsored by Coast One Financial Group.
You're listening to the JR Sport Brief.
It is the JR Sport Brief Show here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. I'm coming to you live from New York City. Much love to everybody tuned in and locked in all over North America. This is when the show gets started every single weekday at 6.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis. Act like y'all. Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans.
We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports. Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody, to Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, on this Feel Good Friday as we are getting ready to go down the line in these football topics, folks. We're going to talk about all type of sports, but we're going to narrow in on football as it is the weekend. So that means we've got high school football tonight. We had some last night, and I'll get to that game in just a little bit. We've got college football coming on tonight. Action in the Big 12 with Kansas State versus Arizona. We've got college football this weekend as Baylor will be looking to get back in the win column here in Central Texas, as UT will look to continue their dominance here in Central Texas. And we'll have great games from all around the nation. We'll close it out with good games on Sunday as well, as we're week 2 into the NFL season. My name is Jalen Gillis. Like I said, make sure you guys go over to YouTube and check us out, Centex Sports Network over on YouTube. You can watch this show 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays, or you can go on to CentexSports1.com. Check us out there if you want to listen. Or if you want to listen or watch, you can download the app Centex Sports 1 on the Google Play Store or on the Apple Store, whichever one that you have. I'm here joined today with the friend of the show. Quay is on here with me as we're going to go down and talk about some of these topics and some of these games from this weekend coming up, and some games that we got to see yesterday. Quay, what's going on?
What's up with it, man?
Oh, nothing much, nothing much. Getting ready to talk about some of these games. So we'll start with the game that everyone was watching and that unfortunately has everybody talking about this morning, and that was the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football. Went down to Miami, came out with the dub. Once again, this Buffalo Bills team has had Miami's number for a while now, honestly. That this current regime in Miami hasn't had much of any success against Buffalo since they've been there. In the Tua era and the Mike McDaniel era, they really haven't had a chance against this Buffalo team, honestly. And Buffalo came out and dominated once again last night. Buffalo moves to 2-0 as they came out with the win 31-10 over the Miami Dolphins. No really spectacular performance from Josh Allen in this one. Surprisingly, didn't have to do too much. Only ran the ball twice. I know that was good to see, especially playing on a short week like he was doing coming into this game, and some of the hits that he took on Sunday against Arizona. He went 13 for 19, 139 yards, 1 touchdown. Nothing spectacular, but their defense shined as bright as it could, and James Cook shined really bright in that game as James Cook scored 3 touchdowns, completing his hat trick. He had 11 carries, 78 yards for 2 touchdowns. Also caught a pass for 17 yards and a touchdown as well, as he really carried the offensive load for this Buffalo team. On Miami side, and we'll talk about the Tua injury in just a second. But I wanted to get to the game first. So on the Miami side, offense never got going. The defense was just all over Tua. Threw 3 picks in the game, got sacked a few times. Not much going besides Devin Achane. Devin Achane had 22 carries for 96 yards. Also led the team in receptions with 7 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. So I know if you got Devin Achane in fantasy, you definitely are starting your week out good if you started him in your lineups. But Miami couldn't get any offense going outside of that. Like I said, 3 picks from Tua in this game. Three picks from Tua in this game. Only 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown was to Devin Achane out of the backfield. So they couldn't get much going. Really just a dominant performance from Buffalo all the way through this one. We know Tua suffered the concussion in the fourth quarter, and we'll talk about that in a second. But just breaking down the game first, Quay, what'd you think about this game and the performance by the Buffalo Bills, how they were able to just control this game from start to finish?
Man, Buffalo came out. It seems like when we watch really physical matchups against Miami, they find a way to struggle. And Buffalo plays a certain brand of football, kind of cutthroat, straightforward, good bad game. They're kind of going to be well coached. The defense is going to be, you know what I'm saying, playing physical. For some reason, they remind me, when Miami plays against physical teams, they kind of remind me of old Oregon teams with all those great players.
Yeah.
But like when it's time to play against a physical SEC team, the game is different. And like I said, we watch Tua struggle, but it's like they stick to their script. And in their script, whether it's good or bad, and all Buffalo and everybody in the NFL is realizing is we get in these cover 4s, cover 3s, and we make them play in front of us. We'd rather tackle Tyreek, let him get a 12-yard instead of a 50-yard bomb.
Yeah.
We can play in the game, we get to the trenches if anything happens, but we can't play giving up those big plays. So they limited their big plays, and we know when Miami has to play like they have to throw the 5-yard in. They don't want to play like that. They want to go score a touchdown, put points up, and beat people. But it's tough when they play against those physical teams, and I don't know why. But, yeah, that's what I took from that.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. When they play against those physical teams, they can't really match that physicality, even though they're a running team. Most teams that are a running team usually are pretty physical, but this Miami team over the years – just not really physical like that. That we know they had injuries in the running back room, but Devin Achane played good. But when you're turning the ball over, they were forcing Tua into turnovers. I think they took one back to the house for a pick 6. I mean, it's tough. When you start making mistakes like that, it gets tough. And they really just got behind and couldn't ever really get out of that hole. And Buffalo wasn't letting them out either. They stayed solid. Gregory Rousseau on their D-line, Ed Oliver, A.J. Espinosa. I mean, this D-line is coming together. Obviously, Von Miller leading the troops with them. He got a sack in that game as well. I mean, this Buffalo D-line is attacking. This front 7 is fierce, even though they're without Matt Milano, who's one of the best linebackers in the league. They still found a way to make up with that. Guys like Baylor Spector came in, a backup linebacker. He got 10 tackles in this game. Damar Hamlin, who's now their starting safety, he led the team in tackles with 10 tackles. So just when you see Buffalo playing physical like this, especially with the news that we're about to talk about with Tua, I mean, I got to have Buffalo in this division, and I didn't have them winning this division before the season started. I had Miami honestly winning the division. I thought Miami would be able to take off with this, and it's probably looking like it's not going to happen, especially now due to the news. Tua Tagovailoa suffered another head injury, suffered another concussion. I believe his 4th concussion now in 2 years, 4th concussion in 3 years. I think his 5th concussion total because he got a concussion at Alabama as well. So after suffering his concussions, totaling all the way up to 4 or 5 concussions now, didn't look good on the field last night. Didn't look good as his teammates surrounded him, his coaching staff. None of them really want to answer questions about Tua's future. But you got to start thinking about your future at this point. 5 concussions, and they seem to be serious concussions. And I know there's some people saying, well, there's more NFL players that's probably got more than 5 concussions. Yeah, that's true. But when you see the way that his body reacts to each concussion, you got to take that into account. And, I mean, it's a tough decision. Like their coach said, it'll be up to Tua to decide whether to make that decision or not, or whether he wants to keep playing. But let's listen to some quick words right here from Mike McDaniel and what he had to say about the Tua injury.
It would be so wrong of me to even sniff that subject, and it's more in line of actually caring about the human being, and that's something that entirely, you're talking about his career, right? His career is his. I totally understand it, and it's not misplaced. I totally get how that's where people want to go to. If I would answer that question, I'd be like, all right, this is my thoughts on his career, and he read it. If he agreed with it or he disagreed with it, either way, I've just made him worse. It would be.
So a lot to be said about this Tua injury, and I've been listening to different people talk about this online or on TV shows all day, and there's just a lot to be said about this injury because, like I said, the consistency of the head injuries, and when you see, the way that his body reacted when he was on the field, it's tough. It's tough. I know it'll be completely up to Tua, and he's probably not done trying to play football. He probably wants to continue to play football after this because that's just how football guys are wired. They're going to, if they can come back and be healthy. I mean, he had 3 concussions in 1 year in 2022. He played all last year without the concussions. So he feels like he can bounce back from these concussions. But after your brain takes so many hits, I mean, it's tough. These aren't it's not like a knee. You can't get a brain replacement. You can get a knee replacement. You can get a leg replacement. You can even get a hip replacement. You cannot get a replacement for your brain. So seeing this type of consistent trauma, head trauma to his head is discouraging to see. And I know Tua, Mike McDaniel said he didn't even want to talk about a timeline, and I understand that as the coach. But with Tua, I think it's time to hang it up, man. I think it's time to go out and just hang it up. He's got a wife. I think he's got a couple kids. He's got a mom. He's got a dad. He's got brothers. It's time to hang it up, man. You want to be able to live a long and healthy life. You don't want to have something unfortunate happen due to these head injuries as you get older. And I mean, they're not going to heal. This brain injuries aren't going to just heal itself over time. They're actually probably going to get worse over time. So it's a difficult decision he'll have to sit down and make with his family. And but that's who he should be focused on, is his family. Football should be at the back of his mind. Quay, what do you think about this whole Tua thing, man, and the injuries? Should he retire? Should he keep trying to play? Or what do you think he should do in this scenario? Or what do you think should happen in this scenario?
Man, if he cares about his family and kids like he should, man, he got to look at the situation for what it is. I mean, God set him here, he's played ball, and God also are letting us watch him get injured like this to give parents more awareness that life has to keep going on after sports.
Yeah.
A lot of these players after their career's over can't really, and you see this in a lot of boxers that we don't speak about. They lose a lot from the injuries to the brain that we don't understand. Like you said, we can get our knee replaced, we can have a hip replacement, but our brain, and it's things even from football from high school that I didn't understand about.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That with the brain that you don't understand. We may have had more concussions than we knew about. We just never said it, and we just kept going. It's things you have to know, that the brain is not easy to just keep taking a beating. Like, your brain will stop functioning in certain parts. You see how fast, and Shannon Sharp brought it up, like his body is also like automatically going into like a form of rigor mortis, which is can't be functional. Like, okay, most of the time we seeing these NFL players get concussions. okay, they're getting up, walking off on it, and then we're finding out in the report they have a concussion. They go to concussion protocol. No, his body is letting us know that he's concussed.
Yep.
That is not different. I mean, that's a whole different ball game. He has to look at it. He's made some money. He's a millionaire, and I'm pretty sure they're going to have a medical hardship for him. They're definitely going to study his brain. I think he should seriously speak to his wife and his family and get their blessings on whatever he wants to do. If he wants to keep playing, I understand, but it's just going to get worse and worse with the weight. These football players are strong, the strongest humans on the planet.
Yeah.
You're running at 300-pound defensive tackles running at you full speed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not going to get any easier. So.
Yeah, it's not. This type of injury, I mean, you hit it spot on. It's not going to get any easier for you as you get older. And we don't know what the long-term effects of this are. I mean, we've seen the long-term effects from other NFL players and boxers, like you said, to just make it closer because they're getting hit in the head every single time they have a fight. When you go, the longer this goes on, it's going to get worse, honestly. And you want to have be able to live a quality life after football. Football is so short, and it only goes for so long. I heard Shady McCoy talking about it after he retired, and now that he's on these shows and all this stuff. He said when you're playing, right after you get done playing, you don't realize that your life is not over after football. And you just alluded to it. A lot of guys don't know what to do after football or what they want to do with themselves after football. He's still young. He's 26. The dude is 26 years old. You can't be willing to compromise the rest of your life because of this sport that you like playing. Yeah, just how you make money. You already got money. He just signed a huge contract, and I know for at least all of his signing bonus is going to be guaranteed, but a portion of that contract is going to be guaranteed whether he plays another down or if he doesn't. That's plenty enough money to retire on. Most people retire on much less, most Americans. So that's plenty of money for you to retire on. So just take that money and go.
The big thing to look at, Jalen, is Andrew Luck. Everybody forgot Andrew Luck stepped away from the game.
Yeah.
It's a lot of players took everybody. He wasn't done. He's in this. No, your body is not the same. And once you know yourself, Tua knows that it's getting bad.
Yep.
Tua is sitting at home right now knowing that he can't even get up and go practice and function how he wants to right now. He knows we're watching film. I went to go watch, and somebody made a compilation of all the times he's got concussed in the NFL. Mm-hmm. It's getting worse and worse.
And that's sad. Like you said, Andrew Luck is a perfect example. He was in his prime. He was a top 5 quarterback in the league. Not saying that matters to how Tua should approach this and all that, but you think about that. Andrew Luck was a Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes. He was picked to be the next Brady. He was picked to be the next all this, and he retired at 28, 29 years old in the middle of his prime and we didn't even see him get concussed. He had to come out and tell us that, yeah, I've had multiple concussions and this happened and this happened. We didn't even see it. We're watching Tua's concussions, which makes it worse because now the whole world is going to have something to say about this. And, man, it's tough. The NFL is a business, and if you say, I'm going to try to play, they're going to put you out there to try to play, which isn't good. And if you say you're not going to play, they're going to cut you or they're going to tell you to retire, which is not what he's going to like, but it's probably in the best interest of your family, man. Like you want a quality life as you get older. Like this is a head injury. This is something he needs to seriously consider. So we'll see how this. I'm sure there's going to be much more drama to unfold from this, and we'll be able to talk about it throughout the show as we go into next week too as well. But definitely praying for Tua and hoping that they figure it out. And on the football side of it, they got to figure out what they want to do at the quarterback position. You know, everybody's going to want to talk about Tua's thing, but unfortunately, football is going to keep going. The season's going to keep going. So just turning the page to the Dolphins and what they should do. Do they roll with a Skylar Thompson because he's been in the program for a couple of years now out of Kansas State? I think they drafted him about 3 years ago. He's been in the program. He knows the offense. Now, I don't know if he's the guy necessarily. We've seen him last year when Tua missed some time. Got in, just didn't look that great. Do they go back out and try to go get a Ryan Tannehill that's a free agent? Or, they probably would have tried to go get a Joe Flacco if he wasn't on the Indianapolis Colts already. Do you go to one of these quarterbacks? Do you make a trade like the Packers traded for Malik Willis, and now Malik Willis is going to be thrown out there? Do you go and try to go get try to go get one of these other quarterbacks and stick them in this offense, give them a couple weeks to try to get acclimated, and then stick him out there because unfortunately they have to play the rest of the season, and their season is going to keep going. They got to make a decision at that quarterback spot. I don't know if Skylar Thompson is necessarily the answer, in my opinion. I don't think he showed enough last year in the times that he got to play. He played decent at times, but how far do you think he can go at this position? I don't know how far he can take this team. This is a team with Super Bowl aspirations. That's why the timing of this injury is unfortunate. This team has Super Bowl aspirations. They've got a squad. They're loaded on both sides of the ball. Now, they still have problems from last year that they did not fix that actually got worse, like being able to stop the run. They can't stop the run at all. Jacksonville ran the ball all over them in week 1. They ended up coming back in that game. Buffalo ran the ball all over them in this game last night. They lost Christian Wilkins. He went over to the Raiders. So they didn't replace him. They thought they could just, keep going with as is. I think they lost Roquan Davis as well in free agency, or they traded him away. I think he's in Indianapolis. So they didn't replace anybody on that interior line. Yeah, they got some pass rushers. Still got Jalen Phillips out there. They got Bradley Chubb out there. They went and got some DBs. They got Jalen Ramsey and Fuller. But they can't stop the run at all. So when you think about that, and then now you have to try to figure something out for the quarterback position. You got to figure out where you want the season to go. Do you want this to be an 8-8 season? Do you want this to be a 5-win season? Or do you still want to try to compete and try to go win this division in a division that looks like you're still able to compete in? So, Corey, what do you think about that, and what direction should they try to go with this quarterback problem that they have now? Should they go get somebody in free agency, or do they stick with their guy Skylar Thompson and try to see what he can do?
Skylar Thompson's terrible. And that's just me saying for what the Miami Dolphins are trying to do. Like you said, they had Super Bowl aspirations. If they just want to be a regular pack team, you paid all these people, traded people, got Jalen Ramsey. If that's what you want to do, play Thompson. But the tough part is, who can they go trade for, and what team is going to allow somebody to give? Because we've seen these injuries in the previous couple of years. You can go to a Joe Flacco or you know what I'm saying, a Jacoby Brissett. Who's out there right now that's going to be that they could get and have a serviceable quarterback? Do you try to pull the plug and talk to? Do you think? And I know the Steelers are not coming off of one of their quarterbacks. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't know where they go from here, but Thompson's not the answer for sure. He's not going to get him over the hump. He doesn't look like he knows the NFL game well. It doesn't register to him fast enough. They can't open the playbook up for him. And he should know the scheme. He was there last year. He knows the players there. He practices with them. He just doesn't have any NFL chemistry, and he doesn't really look like an NFL talent to me.
Yeah.
But that's their backup, and they should have kind of prepared for this. Everybody been going to a 2-quarterback backup system. And they kind of should have prepped for Tua being injured, bro. Not saying they expected it, but come on, Jalen.
I agree.
At this point,
I agree.
He get injured every 6 games.
Yeah, I agree. With the history that he's had over the years, you got to go and prep for a backup. Look at the New York Jets. They know Aaron Rodgers' injury history, and he's coming off an injury. So they go out. One of their first signees is Tyrod Taylor. And the Giants offered him a decent amount of money, but he went with the Jets. When you think about the Rams, Matt Stafford has had injury issues. They go and get Jimmy Garoppolo to be the backup. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they knew Russell Wilson was coming into this with an injury. We got Justin Fields. I mean, guys have been preparing for this. The Dolphins, unfortunately, haven't prepared for this unless they think Skylar Thompson is the guy. Now, there's not much left in free agency at all at the quarterback position. Ryan Tannehill is really the only person I could think of in that, because somebody like a Joe Flacco went to the Indianapolis Colts. So it's not much. It wasn't much out there already, but it's definitely not much out there right now. Marcus Mariota ended up going to Philly. I think Mitch Trubisky is in Buffalo. Drew Lock ended up being on the Giants. So, I mean, guys, but you might have to go trade for a backup, honestly. I would try to go trade for, and I don't know how eager they'd be to do this, but I go talk to Cleveland and see, hey, man, what's up with Jameis Winston? They might keep him because Deshaun Watson's got a lot of question marks around him. I might holler at Kansas City and say, hey, what do we got to give up for Carson Wentz? Carson Wentz is the backup in Kansas City. Joshua Dobbs is proven to be decent. He's out there with your team with the 49ers. So it's a few guys in the league that are respectable backups, but you're probably going to have to go and trade for somebody, honestly, because the free agent pool isn't much at all. So we'll see what they decide to do with their quarterback situations out there in Miami. It's tough. It's tough. You don't want to seem like you're moving on right away from Tua, but Tua shouldn't be worried about football right now. If he wants to continue playing in the future, that's cool. But if I was the Dolphins, I'm sitting him at least the rest of this year, because you're going to catch a lot of heat if he goes out there. What if something worse happens than what's already happened? His body is already locking up on the field. What if he goes out on the field and something even worse happens than that? You definitely don't want to see that. The Dolphins don't want to see that. The Dolphins PR doesn't want to see that. The ownership for the Dolphins doesn't want to see that. So you might need to let him sit this year and let him think about it for the rest of this year, what he wants to do. And if you do that, you might have to go trade for a Jameis. You might have to go trade for a Carson Wentz. Somebody that's a respectable quarterback that he come in, because it's in a difficult offense to run. It's not act like this is, the New England offense with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. This is a pretty simple offense to run. It's a West Coast scheme. It's the 49ers offense. That's what it is. The 49ers offense, we're going to have dudes wide open. They got speed everywhere. They got Odell's going to be coming back. They got multiple running backs. You just need somebody serviceable that's not going to turn the ball over to get in that position. So we'll see how they decide to move on with their QB position, and we'll be talking about it here on Centex Primetime. Go ahead, Quay.
What were the odds that DeMar Hamlin,
that's crazy,
essentially almost literally was lifeless on the football field, was a part of this? There's just guys showing us what the body is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we have to pay attention and take heed to what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just one of the points I was just looking at. I was like, dang, it was DeMar Hamlin. We just watched this man. He went on a whole tour of taking care of yourself and understanding your body, and we just watched it be a part of that. That's just confirmation of what we got to pay attention to. The game is not more important than your health, Tua. That's just what I want to say. If I could talk to him, I'd just say that. As a friend, I know his family. He come from a line of quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. He come from probably a family lineage of football, but you got kids that you got to teach play football, and I'm pretty sure he'd be a great quarterback coach. Everybody talks great about Tua.
Yeah.
So, football don't got to be necessarily over, and most of the time they get done playing football and go turn back to the game anyway. So.
Yeah. And then you look at a dude like Teddy Bridgewater, somebody else who suffered multiple concussions, and just hearing the last interview he just did this week that kind of went viral, and him talking about how he had a concussion on the field. His teammates told him he was only out for about 4 or 5 seconds, but he was completely asleep on the field. He got a concussion. He was completely asleep. He said he was only out for about 4 or 5 seconds. He said he was out so hard he thought he was back in the hotel. So, these head injuries are nothing to play with. He got hit so hard he thought he was back in the hotel, and when he got him, or when he came back to life pretty much, he was mad at his teammates and like, why are y'all waking me up? Why are y'all waking me up? He thought he was back in the room. He thought something was going on. And he looked up and seen the bright lights of the field up above him, and that was enough for him. He said he wants to be able to play with his kids, to be able to function with his kids, and to be with his kids. So he retired. Teddy Bridgewater was young. Teddy Bridgewater's another good quarterback. He went, and now he's coaching his high school in Liberty City out there in Miami. So there's more to life than just football, Tua, and it can't be about the money. You got plenty of money, and with this last contract they gave you, you'll have plenty of money. So it can't be about money either. It's got to be about quality of life moving forward from here. So we'll check back in on this Tua situation as we move throughout next week, folks. We'll get some different people on to talk about it, get some different opinions on what should he do, and I'm sure we'll get more information out of the Miami locker room. Folks, want to thank everybody for watching with us today. It is the Friday Night Lights edition here on Centex Primetime. Friday Night Lights. La Vega football will be coming on right here at 7 p.m. So make sure you guys are tuned in for that, as La Vega Pirates will be going on to take on West Orange Stark down in Madisonville. We got the crew headed down there right now as they're going to finish setting up, and the pregame will come on at 6:30. The game will be at 7, so make sure we're all getting ready for that. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into a couple of these high school games from around the Central Texas area. We'll also talk about some college football games. I'll get Quay's opinion on some of the games we talked about yesterday, and we'll end it previewing the NFL slate coming up for this Sunday. You're watching Centex Primetime right here on Infinity Sports Radio and on Centex Sports Network. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
The East Waco Empowerment Project, along with City Center Waco, is hosting WeBo, Workshop and Business Opportunity, to help create more entrepreneurs. Business owners like Aniceto Charles of True Jamaica Restaurant and Carla Dotson of Boardwalk on Elm attended WeBo to develop their business ideas into successful Black-owned businesses right in the heart of East Waco. WeBo can also help you turn your side hustle or business idea into the next thriving Black-owned business in our community. If you would like to attend this 10-week intense entrepreneurial workshop, go to WeBoWaco.org. That's WIBO Waco.org. Space.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler. For me, it's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's the sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need Southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie. 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Book your next special event at the Bell Mead Civic Center. From quinceañeras to Christmas parties, the Civic Center has room to accommodate your needs. You're planning that special birthday party, having a family reunion, or training seminar. Book now at the Bell Mead Civic Center. Now, if you need to rent a room for that big event for your family or business function, the Bell Mead Civic Center is what you're looking for. Let their friendly and knowledgeable staff help take some of the hassle out of planning your next event. Call them today at 799-2418 or visit them at the Bell Mead Civic Center, conveniently located near I-35 and Loop 340. No matter if your event's big or small, they've got room for you.
When you are tired of good enough pizza and want the only authentic Italian quality pizza in town, with dough and sauce made fresh daily in-house, vegetables freshly chopped throughout the day, and meats made using the finest beef, pork, and chicken, I present to you locally owned and operated Marco's Pizza. Marco's has 3 convenient locations to serve you, including across from Pirate Stadium in Belle Meade. Feeding the entire family piping hot, authentic Italian fresh pizza, cheesy bread, and dessert tonight is as easy as going to marcos.com or stopping by the newest location in Belle Meade. Marco's Pizza. Say goodbye to just good enough.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Hello and welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am Jalen Gillis as we are here going through some of these topics here in sports, talking about the football game from last night. And we know that this is the Friday night edition, special edition of Centex Prime Time. As here on the Friday Night Lights edition, we like to talk about the Central Texas high school football that we've got coming up this week, everybody. A great slate of games coming up. Like I said, La Vega, your La Vega Pirates will be right here on 94.5 FM, also on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas and Centex Sports Network, as they will be taking on West Orange Stark down in Madisonville. And we've got a crew headed down there to be able to do that game and bring that game to you guys right here from the radio. So make sure you're getting tuned up and ready for that. But we've got a great slate of games from all around the Central Texas area. And one of them was the game I got to see last night in the University Trojans at home taking on the China Spring Cougars. Folks, this was a great game, great atmosphere that I got a chance to be in as I was watching the game there at WISD Stadium. A lot of fan support from both sides. The parking lot was packed. I came over there right after I got out of the show, and there wasn't anywhere to park. I had to park way out by the baseball fields because the parking lot at WISD Stadium was already full on both sides, on the China Spring side and on the home side. A great crowd and a great turnout as University was able to come out with the win in this one, 31-21 against the China Spring Cougars. China Spring, a perennial good team here in the Waco area, perennial powerhouse team that's on a slight down year, but I know they'll pick it up as district play goes throughout. They just had a tough non-district schedule to start. They lost their first game against Franklin, a team with state championship aspirations. They lost in state last year. Now, and then in week 2, they were able to beat a tough Bastrop team, just barely 27-24. And in week 3, they played up a division, went to 5A Division 1. China Spring is 4A Division 2. So they played up in the University Trojans, and they had this University team against the ropes. They had them down in the game. It was 21-12 going into the locker room. Now, a lot of that was mistakes by University in the first half. They kind of shot themselves in the foot a lot with their penalties. They had some turnovers as well. They had some fumbles. They had some offsides on third down, some false starts. You know, the penalties were really getting the best of this University team, but you could see the talent there, and we know how talented this University squad is. But as the game progresses, they came out in the second half, and from there on out, University took over. A 19-0 run in the second half by the University Trojans as they didn't allow another score from the Cougars. Now, there was multiple times where China Spring tried to make a run and to get back into the game after University started scoring again, but there wasn't much they could do, and turnovers started to hit the China Spring Cougars as well in that second half as they started to turn the ball over. Matthew Battles had to try to push the field a little bit, and he played a great game. I think he had 160 yards rushing in that game. Matthew Battles, the quarterback for the China Spring Cougars, so he played a really, really good game, and I think he had 100 yards by halftime. So he was a huge part of why China Spring was so dominant in that first half, 21-12. But in that second half, they started to put it together. We saw the young quarterback start to get his rhythm for University. And Savoy Nichols, he ended with 158 yards, 11 for 18 with the touchdown, and he scored a rushing touchdown too on the 1-yard line as well. But this running game for the University Trojans, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem for a lot of teams as they get further and further into district and then even eventually into playoff status as well. Coach K'Ron Johnson doing a great job out there with the University Trojans, and they're running the ball. They've got 2 backs out there at University that are both dogs. They got Ladarius Evans, the one of the running backs, number 23 for the Trojans. Both these guys are studs. He had 139 yards on 19 carries and a touchdown, and 99 of his 139 yards came in that second half. Then they've got Bell, who also comes in. And it's kind of like lightning and thunder from some of the old great running back duos that we've seen with, you think back to Liddell White and Reggie Bush. I mean, even right now, kind of what we got in Miami with Raheem Mostert and Devin A-Chain. When you just think about 2 dynamic playmakers in the backfield, you go back to some of the older Miami teams with Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams. This team's got 2 running backs. Bell came in the game, 18 carries, 134 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. So with the both of them going over 130 yards apiece, it was nothing China Spring could do in that second half, but it's not going to be much that any of these teams on University's schedule are going to be able to do in the second half when you talk about just 2 guys alone putting up almost 300 yards of offense by themselves, and you still got the standout wide receiver, London Smith, on the outside, who we know is a home run threat anytime he touches the ball. Kid just got offers from just about every school in the country. You put all that together, and this University team is going to be dangerous, very, very dangerous as they go throughout the year and as they get into district play. I'm expecting this team to win district. I'm expecting a lot of big things out of this University team this year. They ended their year good last year, and they picked up right where they left off from this year as they now move to 3-0 on the season. And the U-Dogs, they got some dogs down there at University. I'm excited to watch them. Quay, what do you think about University being able to come out with the win over a China Spring team, a team that you know is always a really good team?
Well, let's talk about it from both perspectives. So as a La Vega alumni, we played against China Spring, and everybody used to say, man, y'all play against them little schools. Bro, China Spring is talented, top to bottom. They don't. Yeah. We played a district where we didn't have a week off because we're playing a Lorena. They're not great. They're not going to have a 5-star per se, but they play great, well-coached football, and they're going to play fast, physical, and they look, bro. When they play against a La Vega, they bring their game. They want to beat us. We're not getting their worst game. I've never played a game against China Spring where it was just a blowout. No, we had to come with it every time we played them. So getting to see University go get to play a school to test how good they are in the beginning of the preseason, that just let you know that the culture is different at University. When we came up in the era we were in school, 2010, 2014, University didn't have a chance. Nah. Not saying that they weren't good. They had good players or whatever, but
they definitely
the culture
did.
That they didn't have a football culture at the time.
Yeah.
They did have great players come through their individuals. That's beautiful. But what we can say about programs, University is going to be one of the programs in Waco. People going to say the tradition of winning is not there in football. They more have a basketball tradition.
Yeah.
So this is a culture thing that they're rebuilding. Last year they started it. This year they're going back into it. Their new coach. That's where a lot of coaching is everything, and people don't understand it.
Yeah.
And they've set a new culture, and them beating China Spring was a testament. Even though they played down, there was a good opponent. China Spring could compete in the 5A, I believe. They have great coaching. They are always good. Go look at University's downtime. They've sent players to Division I schools. They are a good team. They're going to be well coached. They're not going to have a lot of penalties, and they're going to keep a quarterback that's going to throw the ball. They don't mind playing football. So that was a good win for University. I like the culture they're setting over there. They're making people and parents want to stay in the Waco ISD. You know what I'm saying? They're making the students want to play for University. Their coach has them bought in. It's great for the city of Waco, but it's great for University in per se. Once we get all of our programs rolling, Waco is going to be a hard place to come play ball. It's just hard. It's not. You can't come in and say there's no competition anywhere. On all the way down to Riker, you're going to come play ball somewhere. And once the culture is set at University, and I'm happy for them, and that was a great win for them.
Yeah, like you said, to see this team and what they've been able to accomplish, and the culture is a huge part. Like you said, Quay, people don't attribute a lot to that. That plays a huge role. That and coaching plays a huge role because these are all high school kids, man. These are teenagers. We've been teenagers before. We know it's hard to be able to get a bunch of teenagers to come together and be able to do anything, but to be able to come together and turn around a culture like that takes a lot, and that takes great leadership. So definitely shout out to Coach Johnson and what they've been able to do over there at University. And picking up this win against China Spring, that's a big win. This China Spring team is no slouch. I know people are going to look at the record and they're going to say 1-2. Nah, man, this team is still going to be able to do some big things this year. This district coming up is going to be tough. The Conley Cadets are 2-0, and they're going to be looking to move to 3-0. We'll talk about them in just a second. That team is going to be good. La Vega Pirates, we've been able to keep a close eye on them as they're right here on the radio station. They're going down to Madisonville to play West Orange Stark today. That's a good team. All these teams are going to be in the same district together. This district is going to be tough, and no matter who comes in with what record in the pre-district, it doesn't matter. When you get to district, everybody's 0-0, and this is going to be a tough team to beat, this China Spring team. Their quarterback showed me a lot last night. He definitely wants to win. He is a big-time player, and he made big plays when they needed it. He put up over 150 yards rushing, and he was pretty much, for the most part, he was their offense. He was their offense. He is what got them going in this game, and he kept them going in this game. So definitely shout out to them and shout out to that university program. great game, great way to start off the week for high school football here in Central Texas. Folks, we got some other good games going on. Like we said, the game that's going to be right here on the radio in the La Vega Pirates going down to Madisonville to play West Orange Stark. Now, La Vega dropped the game last week against last week against Salina. Salina is in a division higher than La Vega, and Salina is one of the top 5 teams in 4A Division I. Salina is no slouch. So La Vega did lose that game last week. They played a great game, and it really just kind of got away from them towards the end of that. But this La Vega team is still really, really good. Bryson Rowland is still really, really good. They couldn't do anything with Bryson Rowland. Shout out to Salina and their coaching staff because they made some great adjustments in that second half. But they had to make adjustments in that second half. Salina could not do anything with Bryson Rowland. He was completely taking over that game, and the game started to slip away towards the end of it as Salina started pulling off, showing some more of their experience. Some penalties kind of hurt the Pirates as it got later into the game. But this La Vega team is another team that's really, really good. This is another team that's going to be very hard to beat as they go throughout the day, or as they go throughout the season and throughout when they get into district play. We know Coach Hyde likes to stack the district schedule. That's cool. He wants to know what type of team he has before he goes into district because he knows district is what really matters. The playoffs is what really matters. He wants his team to have seen everything, by the time they get to district play, by the time they get into the playoffs. And he's doing a great job of that. They had a really great win in week 1 against Kennedale. Last week they dropped a game against a really good Salina team that's ranked in the state. And they got another really good opponent that they're going to have to travel down and play as well. So to see them be able to play each other early in the pre-district schedule is good. And this La Vega team is going to be really good. And we'll get a chance to hear some more about La Vega in a second. But while we have a second, I want to bring in a friend of the show, somebody that we've got a chance to build a relationship over this year. And he's doing play-by-play out there for Lake Belton and for Belton High School. And he's also doing work with Temple College, the JUCO out there in Temple, Texas, which is down the street here from Waco. And that's Mr. Tony Adams. Tony, what's going on?
Not too much. I wish Temple College had football. I really do.
Man, you and me both.
MCC would have a pretty good football team with all the talent that they've got in the area.
Man, help us come talk to Coach Trokram out there at MCC. You know, we mentioned it to her a couple times, and maybe one day we'll eventually get to see that. Tony, we know that you're, like I said, covering this Lake Belton squad and the Belton team out there. And Lake Belton played a game last night. I believe they played against Killeen. And Belton, they got the chance to play as well. So just tell us a little bit about both of these teams, man, this Lake Belton squad and this Belton team and what they've been doing throughout the season.
Well, we'll start off with the Belton game. They, of course, they've got 20 sophomores on their squad this year, and they ran into a little bit of trouble last night down in Georgetown against Eastview, ended up losing 48-14. It was 34-0 at the half. I was doing some work with TC last night and pulled up the scoreboard just like anybody else on a Thursday night. And all of a sudden, it's 34-0 at the half. I'm like, what is going on here? Well, Eastview is pretty legit. They're kind of an afterthought when it comes to just Georgetown football, in a sense, because the Eagles have always got a good team. We saw the Eagles play last week, and it was no contest. It was 39-10. Georgetown had beat Belton last week, but Belton's got a young squad, and they still have 2 more non-district games before they hook up in district with Brenham, Rudder, Ellison, Waco High, and University, and they're trying to get everything back in line. They've got a new quarterback. In fact, right now, you know what they say: if you got 2 quarterbacks, you have none. If you got 3, you got 1.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they're going through right now between Graham Chambly and a couple of the other guys that are right there in it. But they did show some promise last night late, but it was just a little bit too late, and they're going to have to. Their defense, as we've talked about over the past couple of weeks, it's going to keep them in a few of these games down the stretch. But they've got to, the early polls have been a lot of trouble for them. As far as the Lake Belton-Killeen game, I mean, let's just look at it as it is. Lake has had a couple shootouts over the past 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
It was 49-42 last night, and it really, at times, it didn't even seem that close. Lake Belton's got a guy that goes both ways. His name is Xavier Wells. He had 3 interceptions in the first half last night. He was ball hawking last night. He was looking pretty good. And, Killeen had gotten on a shootout last week with Ellison. I believe that game was 59-52. So, they pressed, Lake Belton pressed the defense of Killeen, but Ladero Bailey, who used to be the quarterback at UMHB, is the offensive coordinator at Killeen, and he was doing a lot of good work last night with his offense. He's definitely got the fingerprint for Killeen on his, from his quarterbacking days for the crew. And that, you've been to Crusader Stadium, that same picture that's up in the walkway up there, right outside the cross row.
Yep.
But he's definitely got his fingerprint on that Kangaroo offense. And Lake Belton with Randy Hooten and that new offense that offensive scheme that they've been running with Eli Mascarenas at quarterback, they did a lot of great things last night. Defense got tested a little bit, but Brian Cope is not going to want to get into these long, drawn-out shootouts, and it's they have a district-wide bye this upcoming week, and then they're going to lock up with a pretty difficult 8-5-A1 district. They've got Chaparral, they got the Georgetown teams, Rouse, Leander, Glen, and Cedar Park. That's a gauntlet once you get down to these later days in the district schedule.
Yeah, that was a great way to describe it as a gauntlet. They've got a really tough schedule coming up. Just allude to what are some of the things that this Lake Belton offense has been able to do. Just like you said, man, the last few weeks, they're putting up some numbers. Some teams might not have put up 50 points yet this season, and it seems like Lake Belton, every time you turn around, they're having a shootout with somebody, and another one last night against the Killeen squad. But what are some of the things that they've been able to get going on offense that's been able to have that's been able to lead to them having so much success, at least offensively, for this Lake Belton squad?
They've got a pretty unique situation, and they've got a freshman running back that is really taken everybody by storm. His name is Zion Dupree.
Mm-hmm.
First 2 games, he ran for 226 yards, went off again last night, and he's really shifty, runs inside and outside particularly well. That offensive line for Lake Belton has opened a lot of big holes for him, and he had been averaging right around 6 to 7 yards per carry, and last night he had another great game. Don't have the stats right offhand, but he's going to be a force to deal with in the running game, which was kind of a surprise considering that this team has been a very I don't want to use the word pass happy, but a little bit more balanced towards the passing game over the years. But when you can add in the run, Mascarenas can run quite a bit, but of course you don't want to put him on the line too much. You need to rely on him to stay in the pocket, but he has been a little bit more patient in the pocket over these past couple of games and getting more comfortable with the offensive line in front of him. He's been pretty efficient. He's completing at about a 70% clip right now, which is what you can expect out of a high school quarterback.
Yeah, he's got this offense rolling, and that freshman running back has really, really caught my eye over the last few weeks, like you said, and he's going to be a real big issue for their district to have to deal with over the next 4 years. You think about him just being so young, as reminiscent of Bryson Rowland over there at La Vega, how he's been starting all 4 years with them. By the time they get to their senior year, these guys are seeing just about everything, and that's gonna help this Lake Belton squad a lot. So Tony, like you said, both of these teams getting their footing, or when you talk about Belton trying to get their footing under them, and their defense is good, but they're trying to get their offense to catch up with them. And Lake Belton, how their offense is good sort of trying to get the defense to catch up with them there as well. So we're looking forward to great things from both of them this season. Before I let you go, man, there's a college kind of right down the street from you guys from Belton out there in Austin, the University of Texas, that has been playing some really, really great football. And I know that you are a football fan just like myself, so you've been able to see some of what they've been able to accomplish over the last few weeks, especially last weekend going in there to Michigan and really just kind of manhandling them. What do you think about this University of Texas team as we kind of talk a little bit about some college football? What do you think about this team and what their ceiling is in this new look SEC with how they fared this first couple weeks, man?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a Michigan fan. I was born in Michigan, so it kind of stabs at me a little bit. But no, all joking aside, I knew last year when this game was on the schedule at Ann Arbor, I knew it was going to be a problem for Michigan, especially with what they lost with J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum leaving, graduating, and then eventually Harbaugh heading out to the Chargers. But it's one of those situations where I really think Texas, they planned correctly, knowing that they were going to go into the SEC with a mission and trying to dominate, and they've been able to really surprise a lot of people. Maybe not so much inside the state of Texas, but outside of Texas, they definitely they're number 2 for a reason, and that reason is that they're extremely balanced offensively and defensively. I mean, you've got 2 to 3 of the best quarterbacks in the nation just right down the road in Austin, and this is going to be a problem for the SEC. They still have to play Georgias and the Alabamas and LSUs and all of them, but they put the SEC on notice through the early part of the season.
Yeah, they definitely have, and Texas, they're going to be right there as one of those teams that you're talking about. The SEC, I mean, it's loaded this year. They've got, I think, 5 or 6 teams in the top 10. So that's going to be a real race to the finish there for the end of the SEC. Any predictions of any of the games we're going to see this weekend? I don't know if you're tuned in to any of the college games that we got coming up. We got Arizona and Kansas State playing tonight, and Alabama, Wisconsin, LSU, South Carolina. Any predictions or anything you want to share about the college football games coming up this current weekend?
I really think that the Arizona-Kansas State game is going to be good. I might be kind of surprised with this Friday night game between Kansas and UNLV. I just learned how to talk yesterday.
Yeah.
UNLV and Kansas. Alabama, Wisconsin is going to be pretty interesting up at Camp Randall. I mean, you've got Alabama, the number 4 team in the nation, heading up to Wisconsin to play, and Wisconsin's no joke. That place is a very difficult place to play on an early Saturday afternoon. Oklahoma State, Tulsa could be, Oklahoma State's going to have to look out for a trap game with them. Tulsa's always got a lot of talent. Michigan's got Arkansas State. That really won't be too much of a problem. But one of the games that's going to be – there's actually 2 games that I'm watching in particular. Boston College and Missouri is going to be good. Missouri's number 6. BC's 24. And then you got Oregon and Oregon State. And that's a surprise because you've got a rivalry game this early in the schedule. And a lot of that is just the product of the big shift in the Pac-10, 12, 8. What do we want to call it now? Pac-6.
Yeah.
It's like the Big 18 too. I mean, here we go. But just some of those rivalries that we have looked so much forward to in the latter part of the season, they bumped up to the front part of the schedule. And with that Oregon State game, that's going to be pretty interesting. And a lot of eyes are going to be in the Pacific Northwest on that one.
Yeah, that's a game I'm definitely looking to tune into because I haven't been too impressed with how Oregon has done to start the season off. And Oregon State, I have been impressed with them starting off 2-0 in the season. So that's kind of like one of those trap games you were talking about. And that Boston College Missouri game, I'm definitely excited to see that. Probably one of the better games of the weekend on the college slate. Tony, want to appreciate you, man, for coming in and checking on us, letting us know what's going on down there in Belton. And I will definitely be in contact with you, especially as the season progresses. We know you'll be doing a lot of work with Temple College out there too as well. So we'll keep an eye on them. So take care, Tony, and we will definitely talk to you next time.
Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. So that was Mr. Tony Adams, the play-by-play man for Lake Belton High School and for Belton High School. Folks, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back for the top of the hour. Quay will come back on here with us, and we are going to talk about some NFL and some NCAA before we get ready for this La Vega pregame here at 6:30. You're watching Centex Primetime here on Infinity Sports Radio, Central Texas, and on Centex Sports Network. We'll be right back.
The East Waco Empowerment Project, along with City Center Waco, is hosting WeBo, Workshop and Business Opportunity, to help create more entrepreneurs. Business owners like Aniceto Charles.
894-6680.
Your business ideas into successful Black-owned businesses right in the heart of East Waco. WeBo can also help you turn your side hustle or business idea into the next thriving Black-owned business in our community. If you would like to attend this 10-week intense entrepreneurial workshop, go to WeBoWaco.org. That's WIBO Waco.org. Space.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Hello and welcome back into hour number 2 here on Centex Prime Time, where we go through prime time topics in sports for Central Texas and for the entire nation. As we just got off the phone with Mr. Tony Adams, the play-by-play man for the Lake Belton High School and for Belton High School as well. Folks, a lot of great games coming up here. We know it is the Friday night light edition of Centex Prime Time. A lot of great games going on around the Central Texas area tonight, and we'll give you the slate of games that we got to look forward to. Starting with at 7 o'clock, Leander Rouse taking on the Midway Panthers, my former alumni. It's actually our 10-year reunion this year. I think it's going to be taking place next month, so definitely shout out to Midway and to what they've been able to accomplish at the beginning of this year, man. They're starting off 2-0 coming into this season. They've had some down years the last 3 or 4 years, but they've got a new coaching staff over there. Coach Joe Gillespie taking over as the head coach, and he's brought some of that old Midway culture back with to what us Midway fans are used to seeing, and that's winning football games. They're 2-0 going into this game. I expect them to be able to come out with a win in this one, and definitely shout out to that entire Midway squad, as they've been doing some big things this year. Like I said, starting out 2-0, it's a great way to start. They're in a new district. They realign these districts, and they're taking on a 1-1 Leander Rouse team. That's going to be a tough matchup, and it's at home, so I expect Midway to be able to come out with the win in this one. Only a couple of games away from district. They've got this, and the next week they'll play Mansfield. That'll be their last non-district game, so definitely excited to be able to watch this team as their season progresses And as they get into this district play, I expect this team to be able to come out with some wins, man. I expect this team to win district. This is my top team coming out of that District 12 out there in the 6A division. Midway's my top team coming out of that division. Temple's going to be tough as usual. We just saw Killeen drop a game against Lake Belton last night. So I'm expecting Midway to be able to do some big things this year in their district. So shout out to them. They play Leander Rouse, and that's at 7 o'clock. I'll be tuning into that one on the low as I try to get away a little bit and catch some of their broadcast. Temple is going to be taking on San Antonio Reagan at Hero Stadium. That game is going to be at 7:30. Last night, like we said, folks, China Spring and University met in Waco ISD Stadium. University able to come out with the win, 31-21 in that one after a 19-point comeback by University. 19-0 run that University ended the game on. Cleburne taking on Waco High. Waco High was able to get into the win column last week. So I'm excited to see if they can keep that trend going. Will this Waco High team be able to put together a couple wins? That'll mean a lot to this team if they can do that. And as they move forward in the season, that'll mean a lot for their confidence if they're able to come out and beat a Cleburne team. Cleburne hasn't won a game so far this year. So I'm expecting Waco High to be able to come out and handle business. That game is at Waco ISD Stadium as well. That'll kick off in about 55 minutes here at 7 o'clock. Like we said, Lake Belton took on Killeen at Leo Buckley Stadium last night. Lake Belton came out with a 49-42 win in a shootout. Belton dropped their third game of the year as they took on Georgetown Eastview, 48-14 in that one. Georgetown Eastview comes out with the win. Grandview taking on the Conley Cadets, team that we've been close to over the last few years, and I'm definitely going to be looking to get Coach Garrick on the show here sooner than later so we can talk to you about this Conley Cadet team. But Conley's been making some noise out there. They lost a lot of talent last year, a lot of talent when you lose guys like Kiefer Sibley and Kobe Black goes to Texas. And just over the last few years, they lost a lot of talent, but they've retooled with their talent that they have there. And, man, these kids look good. They've got the 4-star out there, Jamarian Vincent, who was a stud. He's still playing quarterback and playing safety for them as well. He's been recruited by multiple schools in the country. He's got an offer from Texas already. So that makes him, I think, the fourth Conley Cadet to get an offer from Texas in the last few years. So they're doing some big things out there at Conley. The running back, Braden Ford, has stepped up in a huge way, and he has been having some huge games in these first 2 weeks. Looking forward to another big game from him as well. Daniel Hancock and Isaac Rotary holding down the defensive end down there for the Cadets as well. So excited to see what this Conley team can do, man. They got a good test coming up tonight as they take on Grandview. That game is at 7 o'clock as well. Gatesville taking on Mahia in the Central Texas Clash as these two teams will be playing each other in Mahia. That game is at 7:30. La Vega, like we talked about, and they'll be right here on the radio, folks. La Vega taking on West Orange Stark down there in Madisonville. These two teams are going to meet in a neutral location and clash in what is a really nice Madisonville stadium. I've had a chance to go there a few times. Madisonville, they've got a nice stadium. So looking forward to this game. We'll talk more about it. They kick off at 7. It's going to be right here on Affinity Sports Radio Central Texas. It'll be here on Centex Sports Network. And it will also be on the dial, 94.5 FM or 94.5 Magic. So make sure you guys tune in for that game at 7 o'clock. Pregame will start shortly here at 6:30. Lorena taking on the Franklin Lions. Franklin, another one of these really good teams, another ranked team in the state, a team with championship aspirations as they lost in the state championship last year. They're looking to get back. They're looking to get right back there again this year, and they've started out in a great way, taking on a tough Lorena team. So that will be kind of a greater Waco matchup there as these two teams face off against each other at Franklin. That game will be at 7:30. Alvarado taking on the Robinson Rockets. That game will be at 7 o'clock. Hillsboro taking on Whitney. Shout out to this Whitney program. They have been playing great all year. They dropped the game last week, but they're looking to get back into the win column. Coach Hayes out there at Whitney, and they've got some studs out there at Whitney. Excited to see what these two teams can do, or what this Whitney team can do as they progress throughout the season. West taking on McGregor. That game is at 7:30 in McGregor, as they'll get another one of these Greater Waco area matchups and clashes. That'll be at 7:30 in McGregor. Brownsboro taking on Fairfield. That game is at 7:30. Teague versus Ferris. They'll be playing at Ferris. That game is at 7 p.m. Cameron Yeoman. The Yeoman will be playing at Maypearl as Cameron Yo taking on Maypearl. That game is 7:30. Rogers will be playing against Troy in a non-district matchup. That game will be in Troy. Clifton versus Italy. That game is at 7 o'clock as Clifton will be traveling up the road, and they'll go to Italy for that game. Axtell versus Iola. That game is at 7:30. Meridian going to Bosqueville. That game is at 7 in Bosqueville. Hubbard taking on Consul-Neal. That game is in Hubbard. That's at 7 o'clock. Rosebud Lot taking on Dawson. At 7 o'clock, they'll travel to Dawson. Cayuga taking on Itasca. That game is at 7 o'clock. Valley Mills traveling to De Leon. That game will be at 7. Santo will be coming down to Bruceville Eddy. Non-district matchup. That game is at 7 o'clock. Crawford versus Hamilton in a 7 o'clock matchup. That game will be in Hamilton. Marlin taking on Chilton. And what should be a really, really good game. And I'm sure that stadium will be packed down there at Chilton. These two teams not far from each other at all. Both a trip down Highway 6. And Marlin and Chilton will be clashing. Another one of these Greater Waco area matchups and clashes here. That'll be at 7 o'clock in Chilton. Riesel taking on Thorndale at 7 o'clock. They'll play at Thorndale. Moody versus Bremond. That game will be at 7:30 in Bremond, Texas. Bartlett will come to the Mart Panthers. Mart got back in the win column, looking to do some big things this season. So they take on a tough Bartlett squad. That game will be at 7:30. Leon versus Wortham at 7 o'clock. That game will be at Wortham. Centex Outlaws taking on Frost at 7:30 at Frost. Some private school action. Bishop Riker taking on Rio Vista. Temple Central Texas Christian will be taking on Live Oak. That's at 7 o'clock. Blum is going down to Abbott, 7:30 matchup. Bluffdale and Covington matched up against each other already. Bluffdale came out with the win 57-43. Walnut Springs and Iredale matched up with each other in six-man football. Iredale came out with the win in that one 51-6. Some more six-man football, 7:30. Oakwood going to Aquila. Aquila, one of the better six-man teams in this area. That game will be at Aquila. Coolridge going to Bryan St. Joseph at 7 o'clock. Golson and Oglesby at 7 o'clock. Trinidad and Penelope faced off already. That game was 70-22 as Penelope came out with the win. Calvert and Jonesboro facing off against each other in six-man battle. That game is at 7 o'clock. Linglesville and Copperell. That game is at 7:30. Morgan and Hill County Wolves Homeschool faced off against each other. 45-37 win for Morgan in that game. Bynum and Avalon at 7:30. That game will be in Avalon. Cranfield's Gap versus Mount Calm. Then we have Avant versus Blanket at 6 o'clock. And six-man Vanguard and the Methodist Home played each other already. Vanguard came out with a 74-42 win. Shout out to Vanguard picking up that win yesterday. Folks, a lot of good games going on around the Central Texas area tonight. Some really, really good games. Like we said, that La Vega West Orange start game will be right here on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas, also on the dial 94.5 FM as Roy and Cedric will be out there in Madisonville for this matchup. That's going to be a big one, folks. Like we said, pregame show will be at 6:30, and the game will start at 7 o'clock, so make sure you guys are getting ready for that. Get your snacks ready, get all your drinks ready, and lined up. You'll be able to tune in and listen to this game. Got a chance to talk to Coach Hyde. Cedric got a chance to talk to Coach Hyde a couple times in the last couple weeks before their games, and he'll have some more information from his chat with Coach Hyde again this week. That'll be in the pregame, or he might talk about it during the actual broadcast as well. So we're getting ready for that game coming up and for these other great games in this area. Folks, if you got a particular team that you're rooting for and you're watching with us on YouTube or on Facebook, jump in the comments and let us know which team you're rooting for this week in high school football, as you're probably already making your plans. You might be on your way over to that stadium now, or getting dressed, getting ready to head to those stadiums right now if you're going to the game. If not, you can listen right here on 94.5 FM and Infinity Sports Central Texas Radio. Listen to this La Vega and West Orange Star game. That is going to be a great one, folks, and I'm expecting big things from that. We're going to take a short break, everybody, and when we come back, we're going to preview some of these games in college football and in the NFL as well, as we get ready for the La Vega pregame show and then the La Vega game at 7. So stay right here, folks. We will be right back after a short break.
Empowerment Project, along with City Center Waco, is hosting WeBo Workshop and Business Opportunity to help create more entrepreneurs. Business owners like Aniceto Charles of True Jamaica Restaurant and Carla Dotson of Boardwalk on Elm attended WeBo to develop their business ideas into successful Black-owned businesses right in the heart of East Waco. WeBo can also help you turn your side hustle or business idea into the next thriving Black-owned business in our community. If you would like to attend this 10-week intense entrepreneurial workshop, go to WeBoWaco.org. That's WIBO Waco.org. Space.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all know.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler for me. It's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's a sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need Southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie. 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all know.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports. Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
And welcome back to Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis. As we got a few minutes left here before we wrap up and give it over to the La Vega pregame show, folks, want to thank everybody that's been watching with us, not only today, but all week long, as we've had a very, very fun week here on Centex Prime Time. Multiple guests on here. We had Tony Adams on here just a second ago, friend of the show, play-by-play for Lake Belton and Belton High School. We've had Quay on here today. Throughout the week, we've had PJ and PJ Gaither and Kyrell Gibson have come on. Wayne Walker was on Wednesday. The Central Texas Hall of Famer, or the Waco Hall of Famer and Central Texas Hall of Famer, Wayne Walker. Also had Rocky Miller on with us on Tuesday. He got a chance to talk about his show in the HBCU Coaches Corner and kept us up to date on what's going on with all things HBCU here in Central Texas and throughout the entire nation. So I want to thank all of them for coming on the show with us. Make sure you guys are going on to the YouTube and subscribing, man. We're bringing you guys some really good content here at Centex Primetime. We got a lot to talk about as we get ready going into next week as well. So I hope you guys are ready for that as well. And make sure you download the app, CentexSports1.com. You'll be able to listen or watch this content on there weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Folks, great slate of college games coming up this weekend as we get ready for that at 7 o'clock. A game that I'll be trying to tune into just a little bit on the low as I'm watching both of these games with the La Vega Pirates. And I'll try to tune in a little bit to this Arizona and Kansas State game. This is going to be a good one coming up tonight. Also, UNLV versus Kansas will be tonight. We know we heard the news yesterday of the potential new look Pac-12, as Pac-12 going to be looking to add some schools in there. Fresno State, San Diego State as well, Colorado State in that mix, and Boise State. So the new look Pac-12 could feature potentially this UNLV team as well. So UNLV and Kansas, that game will be tonight as well. On tomorrow, a great slate of games that for some reason all seem to be taking place at 11 o'clock. Not sure why that is or what's going on or why all the games are at the same time. But at 11 o'clock, Alabama will be going to Wisconsin. Now, I know this is Alabama. They're number 4 in the nation. But this Wisconsin team, they've got momentum coming into this 2-0. And Alabama did not look good last week against USF. If you guys have been tuning in and watching, they did not look good last week. So we'll see how they fare against a Wisconsin team they're not ranked, but, going up to Wisconsin, that could be a trap game. Oklahoma State versus Tulsa. They're going to Tulsa to play this game. And a state rivalry game here with Oklahoma State taking on Tulsa. That's at 11 o'clock. That'll be on ESPN2. A game that kind of was a sleeper game before, but now College Game Day's headed down there, so it's not much of a sleeper anymore. Number 16, LSU going to South Carolina. This South Carolina team is 2-0 in this season so far, and they're not ranked. They've struggled against Old Dominion in week 1, but they had a really, really good win against Kentucky last week. Interested to see what they can do against this LSU squad. They got a lot to prove. They dropped a first game against USC, had a layup game last week against Nichols, and now they get tested again. Give me South Carolina in this one. I'm going with the upset. I'm going to take South Carolina. Michigan will be taking on Arkansas State. They should definitely take care of business in that. Missouri going to Boston College, or Boston College going to Missouri. Excuse me. I'm not sure why this game is not nationally televised. I think this would have at least got the ESPN game at that same or the ESPN slot, but they don't get it. They're going to be on the SEC network, so I'll still be tuned in, but I'm not sure why they didn't get the top slot. It's really one of the only ranked matchups for the whole weekend. Number 6, Missouri taking on number 24, Boston College, and what should be a really good game. Kyrell picked Boston College to get the upset earlier in this week when we talked about it. I'm probably still going to roll with those Tigers, man. I think too much firepower on offense. Shout out to Bill Bryan, though, at Boston College and what he's doing over there. Oregon versus Oregon State in a state rivalry matchup, like Tony just alluded to a few minutes ago. Don't really see rivalry games like this early in the year. But they're playing early in the year, and that's probably due to this new look Big Ten, but how all these conferences are and these two super conferences that we got in the Big Ten and the SEC, even though I think the SEC is the only one that's a super conference. Big Ten is kind of, they're all right. SEC is loaded, though. SEC's got 5 or 6 teams in the top 10. That's crazy. And then they still got LSU at 16 as well. So SEC is loaded. Big Ten is still good, but the SEC is loaded. But thinking about the Big Ten, Oregon versus Oregon State, that game is at 2:30 on Fox. I will definitely be tuning into that because I think Oregon State's got a chance for an upset in this one. I'll still roll with Oregon, not by much though. Tulane and Oklahoma, that game will be on ESPN. I'm going to have to go with Oklahoma in this one. I do like what Tulane is doing, but after they lost their coach to U of H, it's going to be a tough win to get this one, and it's at Oklahoma. You can give me the home squad. Notre Dame at Purdue, a game that I probably won't be tuning into, but I'll still keep my eye out to see what Notre Dame is going to do against Purdue. Not sold on Notre Dame. I wasn't sold after the A&M win, and that was definitely proven true after they dropped their game against Northern Illinois last week. They're trying to get back in the win column this week. Ole Miss taking on Wake Forest. I expect Ole Miss to win that one handily. Georgia and Kentucky. I'm going to watch some of this game just to see how Kentucky comes out after getting beat by South Carolina. They're going to want to, make some noise. They're playing the number one team in the nation, but you're playing on national television. You still want to make some noise. Colorado and Colorado State. What is Deion and the Buffs going to do this week? They disappointed me last week in that Nebraska game, but I think this is the game they bounce back. They're playing at 6:30. They got to come out in this game, and they got to dominate. They can't make it a close game like last year. If you want to have a chance in this Big 12, you're going to dominate teams like Colorado State. Nebraska is going to end up being a good team. Nebraska is number 23 in the nation right now. They'll probably be somewhere near 15 or 10 by the time they get to Ohio State in Week 7. So Nebraska is a good team, but you cannot come out and look like how you looked against that Nebraska team. It's just that simple. You got to come out and you got to dominate in this game against Colorado State. So I'll be looking for big things in that game. That's at 6:30, like I said. Tennessee taking on Kent State. Tennessee should dominate in that one. So some really good games going on around college football this week. And then there's the game that I will be at this week, and that's Air Force coming to Baylor. And the Baylor Bears looking to get back into the win column as they dropped their game against Utah, which it was an ugly game. Baylor didn't look good really at all in that game. Maybe they had a couple moments in the second half, but Utah is probably the top team in the Big 12. So if you're going to look bad against somebody, might as well be the number one team in the Big 12, potentially the number one team in the Big 12. So I'll be excited to watch that game to see Baylor get back into the win column. They should handle Air Force. They should definitely handle Air Force in this one. And I'll be excited to see how that one goes. That game is at 6:30 on FS1. Another game that should be a big one that's kind of going under the radar. It'll be on FS1. Tech versus North Texas. North Texas coming into this game 2-0. Tech has struggled their first couple weeks, and they've been in some shootouts. North Texas can make some noise in this one. Right now, Tech is a 10-point favorite. Not so sure about that in my former school, the University of North Texas. They've been looking pretty good in these first couple weeks. So I'm excited to see what they can do coming out in this one. Arizona State and Texas State played already. They played last night. Arizona State got a narrow victory in that one, 31-28 over Texas State. Other games in the Big 12, West Virginia at Pittsburgh. That's a rivalry game. That game is at 2:30. UCF and TCU. TCU just a small 2-point favorite. It's rare that you see a 2-point favorite in college football. Usually the spreads are kind of wild, but that game coming up at 6:30, U of H versus Rice, and then BYU and Wyoming. So, folks, a lot of good games from around the college slate this week. A lot of good games this Saturday, so I'll definitely be tuning into that. Folks, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we will have the La Vega pregame show with Roy and with Cedric on there. So get ready for that, folks, as they're going to preview you for the La Vega versus West Orange Star game. That game will be in Madisonville, Texas, in a neutral site, and it's at 7 o'clock. So get ready for that one. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with me today on the Friday Night Light edition of Centex Prime Time. Thank you guys for watching with us. Like always, subscribe to the YouTube Centex Sports Network and check us out on CentexSports1.com. Want to thank everybody once again, and I will see you guys. We'll be back Monday, 5 to 7. We'll be back to recap this football weekend. We'll see you guys then. Everyone, have a good evening and get ready for the La Vega game. We'll be back.